Byzantium is a gothic folklore drama film directed by Neil Jordan and starring Gemma Arterton and, even harder, Saoirse Ronan, who is that girl over there, pretty famous, or most famous for playing in the recent film Lady Bird, who she actually probably won, or was nominated at least for an Oscar or two, I believe. At least the film was, but I'm pretty sure she was as well. Anyway, yeah, it's a 2012 film, and basically it is a fresh take on the vampire story, or vampire folklore, basically. And it was pretty interesting. I watched it for the first time. I blind bought it, so I had never seen it before. This is the first time just finishing it. And I'm going to give my thoughts on it, basically. So, synopsis-wise, you get these two girls, you're introduced to these two. Saoirse, whose name in the film is Eleanor, begins with telling this old man her story, basically, and she that's how it starts. She's telling her story to this old man, and that's how the film progresses throughout. And she has a sister, who she claims to be a sister. We'll get more into that. Who basically prostitutes herself for money. Couldn't tell from the background. There's a crazy nice ass right at the beginning of the film. So fucking good. She's basically like Eleanor is her little sister. This girl's name is Clara, and she basically takes care of Eleanor, and they're in hiding out, and they act very human-like. They feed when they need to, but they really try to keep low-key. They've been alive for many years, 200 they say, or I think one time it's mentioned that they've been alive for, or they're both 200, or at least Eleanor is 206 years old. But they're into hiding out, and as the movie progresses, Clara, who is the prostitute, she meets this man named Noah, in a really funny encounter, actually. But she sees him as another person who can basically protect them, and she has what would you call it, a code where anybody who finds out that they are vampires basically have to die, because they want to keep their secret and their covenant as low-key as possible. So she's doing everything not to let this guy know, because this guy is providing them a home and shelter and all this, and it's a perfect way to be on the down low with this dude. And Eleanor is she's kind of naive. She's more of the, I wouldn't call it rebellious, but definitely more immature and younger and carefree in a sense. She's kind of learning about the world a lot more. She meets this guy named Frank, who he has leukemia. So basically, he's dying. He's taking this medication that makes his blood really thin. So there's one point in the film where he gets into a bike accident and he falls and cuts his wrist, and he's just like bleeding like a motherfucker. It's crazy. It's like, what the hell is happening to this guy? And then it's later revealed that he has this, or he's on this medication that thins out his blood real bad. But yeah, they form a romantic interest. She doesn't want to fall in love with him because that would mean, exposing her secret. But he's madly in love with her and really wants to get to know her and all that. So there's a lot of tension between the sisters, but especially with Clara, the older one, there's always good intention. And when it comes to Clara, as the movie progresses, you find out that Clara is actually Eleanor's mother, who turned Eleanor in the past, because this film dives into the past a lot, 200 years before, or 2 centuries before, you could say, when it goes into her mother's story. Clara, basically, as a very young child, like a teenager, was sold into prostitution, and she met this guy, kind of forced her into it, kind of thing, and she has been doing that right up to adulthood, I believe, in her 20s or maybe 30s, and then she ended up getting this disease they don't really mention what the disease is, but she's coughing up blood. It could be cancer, it could be something else. And she's dying, basically. Well, it turns out there's this unnamed island. However, the island is called Byzantium. Byzantium, yes. Byzantium. And I looked it up, actually, what that meant. It actually was an ancient Greek island, which is today known as Istanbul in Turkey. So Istanbul, the capital of Turkey, was originally not an island, sorry. It was a Greek city, basically. But this island basically, existed, and I'm guessing that's what Byzantium in the film means, is they're referring to this island. But this island has this power in it where when you go to the island and you're willing to die and give your life, you become immortal for the trade of your soul. So basically it's a fresh take on how you become a vampire. And there's everything about it is cool. There's just one strange thing that I found, and that's when you go to the island and you die. It's like your clone that takes your life. It's very strange. Like the Eleanor goes to the island at the beginning of the film before you even know what's happening, and her clone shows up. It's her killing herself. Like the other Eleanor is killing her in this island. They go into this like cave thing, and there's these bunch of black birds that kind of like swirl around the roof where the light's shining in, and they blind light. And then this clone of Eleanor, the vampires actually have these thumbnails that they come out and they're really sharp. It's a really cool way too, because they use these thumbnails to slit throats and then suck the victim's blood, which I've never really seen a vampire. Usually they use their fangs, right? But these vampires have this like pointed, sharp ass thumbnail that they use. It's pretty cool. So her clone does that and slits Eleanor's throat and kills her, and then she's immortal for the next 200 years. So that's what her mother did to her on her 16th birthday, to make her immortal, and they've been roaming the world ever since. So you get a lot more with the history of her mother back in the day, and what she went through with these two characters named Ruthven and Darvel. And Ruthven is the guy she prostituted herself to him, but I believe either they were married or they were together, for something. Darvel, who was also a vampire, who also became a vampire in the same manner by being introduced to this secret island. It's in the film that it's unnamed. It's the unnamed island, or the unknown island, because it's a huge secret. The Brotherhood of the vampires select people and give them the map to the island, so if they are selected to become immortal, are able to find this island themselves and go, if they're willing to die, if they consent to die and want to be immortal, and they're chosen by the Brotherhood, the Covenant, then they're given the map and they go to the island and do their thing. What Clara did is she was with Ruthven, and this Darvel character, who was a vampire, gave Ruthven the map to this island so Ruthven can go turn himself into a vampire. And Clara ended up stealing it because she overheard, and she shot Ruthven, and she's like, I'm taking this bitch for myself. And she does, and goes to the island and turns herself into a vampire and becomes immortal herself, because she has this condition where she's dying and she doesn't want to, and she wants to live forever. She wants to take care of her child too, who at the time was 6, but on her 16th birthday, like I said, takes her to the island and does the same thing. So Ruthven is on this vengeance. He survived. She shot him, but he survived, and he eventually, at one point, chases after Eleanor to kill her, because Clara stole his gift, so now he is seeking vengeance and wants to steal something from Clara, her daughter, and wants to kill her basically. But Clara interferes and stops him and stabs him in the throat with her little thumb, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's the gist of the film. Things progress from there. The Brotherhood in the future, in present day, 2012, I guess, is after Clara as well because she broke a lot of Covenant rules, and they've been after her for these 2 centuries because apparently in the code, women are not permitted to create, so they're not permitted to turn other people into vampires. So not only did she turn herself into a vampire, which originally the Brotherhood was only men. Yeah, sexist movie, I know. Not PC, not PC, but fuck it. Yeah, so the Brotherhood is all men, and not only did she turn herself into a vampire and break that, but then she turned her daughter. She turned somebody. She's not allowed to be in the Brotherhood, let alone turn somebody else into a vampire. So they're after her to kill her, and they track her down in present day. And the ending is weird. The only thing I found strange about the ending is Duval is about to chop Clara's head off, and instead of chopping her head off, she chops the leader of the Brotherhood's head off. But what I find strange about that is he's fully aware that Clara stole this map from Ruthven, and Ruthven and Darvel were friends. Darvel gave the map to Ruthven, intending Ruthven to go to this island and transform himself. So knowing that Clara stole the map from Ruthven and went to do it herself, like to transform herself, Clara should be his enemy. Why he decides to save her in the end, or why his intentions right from the get-go was to save her, I don't know. Like it didn't explain that at all. Not that it's not a cool ending, but there's no reason for it, and there's no explanation for it. So I'm just like, that's it's kind of random. They just kind of threw that into the script, it seems. But whatever, and it ends like that, and both Clara and Eleanor remain alive and continue on their journey, and Noel ends up dying, the guy who was caring for them. But yeah, it pretty much ends with just the two of them. But yeah, it's a cool film. I enjoy it. It's very slow. It's a very slow film, and actually the first act was dragging a lot, I found. I really had a hard time for the first half of the movie trying to figure out where it was going to go because it was very, very slow. And it's an IFC release. IFC releases are kind of similar to A24 releases in the sense that they are very slow burns and very artsy. This is definitely an art house vampire film. Like, I mean, you can even tell from the cover. It's very art house. So, being that it's very art house, it's going to be quite slow. The entire cast is known for being in art house films. So, it's a product of what it is, and that's fine. But this one is exceptionally, like, it exceptionally takes its time. It really does. There's a nice head slice at the beginning where Clara takes this wire, like it looks like a piano wire, and wraps it around this guy's head and just goes, and then his head just pops right up like a champagne cork. It's good. It's good. It's a nice kill. I mentioned at the beginning of the review that the encounter with Noel and Clara, when Clara meets Noel, he's one of her Johns, and he goes in, he pays $50 for a blowjob, and he just starts crying, and then he starts talking about his mother who just recently died. So one, he's seeking a BJ like 24 hours after his mother died, and two, kind of an awkward situation to be opening up to a prostitute about that, and like she's just like she tries to comfort him, but the whole scene is just awkwardly funny. She gives him fake names too. She also goes by Claire and Camilla to him. I got a little confused about that because I'm like, I thought her name was Clara, but then I'm like, oh, she's giving him fake names because, you know, she wants to be discreet and all that shit. There's a scene where Eleanor, now, you figure out why. There's a scene where Eleanor kills an old lady in a hospital to drink her blood, for survival, obviously. And the scene was very sad because the old lady thought that Eleanor coming in was an angel and there to take her, and then Eleanor just says like, "I'm sorry for what I have to do," and puts her thumbnail in her neck and starts drinking her blood. I'm like, oh, that's so sad. It's like, because you could tell that the old lady obviously felt the pain and all that. Like she wasn't. It didn't. It's not like it didn't hurt or anything, or that she wasn't suffering through it. But you find out later that Eleanor actually has a moral code where she follows people around until the end of their life, and then when they're ready to go or just about to go, that's when she feeds. So she kind of waits till her quote unquote victims are at the end of their rope or on their last breath before she goes to feed on them, which, you know, is pretty, it's a pretty good moral code to have. I mean, it's sweet on her that she would think of that, and it's cool on the screenwriters and the script writers that they would include something like that in the film, because you never really, I've never really seen a plot, you know, little piece like that. So I found that cool. It's funny that I just finished reviewing Dracula Prince of Darkness for a Hammer Horror review, because they play it in the movie, and I'm like, Dracula Prince of Darkness, I just watched that like 2 days ago for a review. Awesome, love it. Another thing that they do they gotta let the vampires in. I love that trope. Gotta let the vampires in before they enter. They have that in the movie. Another thing I found really cool is that Ella is assigned to write an essay for a course that she's in, or some kind of class that she's in with Frank. And the assignment is I am, so they all have to write an essay on I am, yada yada. So they have to write an essay on themselves, basically. And there's only one rule to the assignment, is that it has to be the truth. So Ella, you know, writes about her vampirism, and she gives it to Frank, and Frank, like a jackass, gives it to the teacher, because she wrote it just for Frank, because she wanted to, this was her way to open up to Frank kind of discreetly. And Frank is like kind of having a hard time believing. He gives it to the teacher, and then the teacher and the principals are like definitely having a hard time believing it. Like, oh, I'm 200 years old. My mom, you know, took me to some island and resurrected me. And obviously they're like, bitch, you're on crack. Like, is there something going on? You know, did somebody touch you? Are you trying to hide something? Is this a metaphor? So they have that, and it's kind of funny in a sense, because it's a funny way that she would kind of discreetly say, hey, I'm a vampire, without just bluntly saying it. I found the whole essay thing a good touch. It was a good touch in the script as well. And then she's having a conversation with the teacher, and the teacher's like, how can you be 2 centuries old? Like, really? Like, that, you just can't be, it's not scientifically possible. And she's like, see, and Eleanor is like to the teacher, she's like, see, that's the tricky part, because it's going to take so long to prove it to you. It's going to take like 30, 40 years. And she's like, when you're pruning roses on your wheelchair, I'll swing by and I'll still be 16 years old, and it'll hurt you a lot. But then, you know, that's the only way you're ever going to see that I'm telling the truth, is like 40 years from now. I'm like, burn, Eleanor, burn. Burn, you got her. But yeah, that's all I have. That's all the points. That's all the main points that I have on my notes. I enjoyed the film for the most part. Like I said, you're really gonna have to be patient with the first half till you get to the second half, where all the reveals come in. But I still enjoyed the film a lot. I would recommend it. There's another film that this reminded me of called Only Lovers Left Alive, directed by Jim Jarmusch. And Only Lovers Left Alive by Jim Jarmusch is so much superior to this one. Similar film in the sense where there's vampires who have been living for centuries and living in the modern world in today's century, whatever year, like 2015 or whatever it was made. But like like in that film, it's a couple, and they've been alive for, like I said, like hundreds of years, and it has that same theme to it. But I'm gonna review Only Lovers Left Alive eventually. I just gotta buy the film, but yeah, it's like that. The the way that film was structured and executed was a lot better, I found. This one just, I think it dragged a little bit, especially in the first half. Second half was very well paced, but the first half, I can't say it was super well paced. Still gets a recommendation, but I'd probably put it at maybe like 50 to 60 out of 100 if I was going to rate it. Probably more along the lines of 60, maybe 65, but good movie. Definitely the same director as Interview with the Vampire, so the director loves vampire films, clearly. And good atmosphere. I love the look of the island, and I love the idea of the island. Like I said, I love the ideas thrown into this film. And Saoirse, I think it's Saoirse, I don't know how to pronounce her first name, I'm sorry. Saoirse Ronan. If her, like I said, her most familiar film is probably Lady Bird, that she's most known for. But yeah, it's I love blind buys. I love going into films, not knowing anything about them, and it's a great art house film for sure. Also distributed by Mongrel Media, another distribution company that focuses a lot on art house films, and yeah, it's a cool flick for sure. But anyways, that's all I gotta say about Byzantium, and I would say check it out, especially if it's streaming somewhere. If it ever comes to Netflix or something like that, give it a shot. Definitely worth a watch if you wanna like kind of have something that you pay more attention to. And think about, like, it's definitely a film that you'll be thinking about for sure. So until next review, guys, thank you for watching and thank you for listening, and I will talk to you later. Cheers.